Greetings, everybody. This is Gaia Earth Goddess. I'm back again, and I just wanted to make another video to talk about a revelation that I had earlier today. I had a download, very quick download, but it was a very informative download, and it was talking about my purpose or one of my purposes on Earth, and it was actually, I'm gonna rewind a little bit. I was watching a commercial on TV for a TV show, and this man who looked like me was commenting about how all quote unquote black people have experienced racism somewhere, somehow, or prejudice or whatever. And I pointed to the TV and I was talking to my husband and I was like, that is so weird. And he was like, what do you mean? I was telling him that I've never experienced that. Like, I've never experienced like racism. Like, this never happened to me. And he was like, well, that's rare or something to that effect. But I've never experienced that. And I was thinking about that a little bit earlier. And it dawned on me why I've never experienced it. The universe has allowed me to never experience racism in order for me to fall into one of my purposes. And thus, one of my purposes is to be a bridge. And by a bridge, I mean a person that acts as this connection to get people of color, not just people like me, but all people of color, to understand the plight of white people. And people say, well, white people don't have a plight. They do. Every group of people has some kind of plight, like something that they have to overcome, some kind of challenge, some kind of misunderstanding that has to be cleared up, something that has to be overcome. And the plight of white people gets lost in the sauce of everybody else. And I get it, because when people think of all of the atrocities that have happened to other groups of people, they kind of put a white people stamp on it. Oh, they did it. So they look at white people through a different lens, and because of that, they do not see what they're going through, like that they have things that are going on with them as well, because people don't identify with it, but they do. And I am a bridge to help people who are of color understand their plight. And people say, well, what is their plight? Their plight is intricate because they were framed for a lot of things that happened on Earth that were not actually their doing, or was not actually started by them. For example, colonization is oftentimes they put a white people stamp on colonization. I'm using white in parentheses because there's no such thing as a black or a white person, really. I don't see race. So, but for the sake of conversation, and I know people vibrate at different frequencies and people use that terminology, I'm using it for now. But when it comes to white people, they put a white people stamp on colonization and things like that. But a lot of these Europeans that did these atrocities during colonization, they were not even white Europeans. They were Moorish. And people talk about, oh, the Moors of Europe, and they came in 7-Eleven and da-da-da-da-da. But people don't realize those Moors were quite evil, and they did a lot of dirty work. And they're actually referred to as the dirty Moors. So a lot of times when you read history books and it talks about the Italians and the Portuguese and the French and the Dutch and the English, it says those names. But they never say what color these Europeans were, because they like to dress it up like these are all white Europeans, and they weren't. A lot of them were dark-skinned, blue-black Europeans called the Moors, who had been in Europe for hundreds of years. And so on a racial level, they were quote-unquote black, but on a national level, or on a coming from like the country they came from was Europe, so they were considered European. And so that's why a lot of times it kind of they get the blame for stuff that they were not a part of. Also, a lot of the whites who came over to colonize were commanded or sent by the Moors to do their dirty work for them. So it's like they were used as a pawn historically. And I'm not saying all the time, but a lot of the time they were. And they kind of took the fall for a lot of things that were initiated by the Moors. And so people need to really research the Moors and their hand in a lot of things that like went on with like Europe and over here and things like that. And because of that, that kind of set the basis for their plight. It's part of their plight, but it set the basis up to today, because people don't have or even try to have an understanding of white people because their reputation is so tarnished by those things. They not even trying to sit down and have an understanding. People are, like I said in my other video, are unnecessarily hard on white people about comments they make, things that they do, and things like that, because you're looking and people are looking for a way to call them prejudiced or racist. And a lot of times they're not doing either. It's due to perception, and it's due to things coming from history and residual things that other groups of people are still carrying this to this day, and they're still applying it to white people of today. And so people of color who are able to move past these things and these notions, they're called sellouts and coons and things like that, because they're able to move past those past things. And so I'm one of the few people of color who actually see that white people have an actual plight. They actually have something that they're going through, and no one else is really noticing it. And I feel like, and I've been told through the download, that I am a bridge to help others learn about their plight in a respectful way. Not to down what happened to other groups of people, but to get people to realize that, hey, these people are going through something too, and a lot of this stuff was not actually their fault. And a lot of the things that they do are completely skewed and misinterpreted because of previous thoughts and feelings that people have about them anyway. It's like it's like a preset judgment. So whatever they do, it seems like it's being prejudiced or racist, and it's not. And this is not all white people. There are some white people who are just outwardly racist, and there are groups of people. There's people from all groups who are outwardly racist. But I'm just talking about the average white person that you see walking around that has no real reason to be racist to anyone, and how easily they can be labeled as being racist by saying something the wrong way or doing something the wrong way because they're white, and there's always like this preconceived notion in people's mind to see them through a different lens and judge them off of that. And I'm just here to be a bridge for that. So I'm going to be acting as a bridge just to get people of color to understand whites better. And the universe had to make me a person of color to do it, because then people will listen to me. Because if I was white skinned, they wouldn't listen to me as well. I couldn't really be that bridge. So that is a download that I got today about me being, that necessary bridge. And I know there's others who are probably bridges as well. I'm not the only bridge, but I'm just falling into my purpose, and that's one of my purposes, and I'm just going to take it on, so that people can, really understand whites and understand, even if they have a culture. People don't think white people have a culture, and that is just so weird to me. Everybody has a culture, but just be that bridge to people so people can understand whites better, not glorifying one race over another, or one group of people over another, but just being that bridge so people can understand people better. So that's what I wanted to talk about, and that was my divine download that I got today. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.